So, of course, we're going to talk about AI and API today. But first, I wanted to show you something, and please, for the Japanese speaker, don't cheat. Do you know what this means, or do you have no clues at all? Yes, I know there's Japanese speakers on the front row. Maybe if I add this, shuhari, does it ring a bell? No? Okay, so sorry for the pronunciation, but shuhari are the 3 steps of learning to mastery. So basically, first you just follow the rules, then you're going to start to break the rules, and finally you're going to end up making your own rules. If you take the example of when you started as a software engineer, first you were just following blindly what was written on the Jira ticket. Then you started to question it. Is it really what we want to develop? Is it really the technical strategy that we want to do? And finally, you made your own rules. Okay, we're going to develop that in the product, or you're going to write down your own user story template. And why am I telling you all this? It's because every time you discover a new technology, you go back in the shoe zone. And this is what happened to me with GenAI. So I'm also a GenAI starter, let's say. And I was like, at the beginning of last year, like, how on earth does it work? How am I going to put that in the product I'm working on? And this talk is about my shuhari path with GenAI and how to go from the shoe zone up to the re-zone. But first, let me introduce myself. So I'm Ruben. I'm working at Sipios, a French company, French consulting company. We develop products for fintechs. I started as a software engineer, like most of you, and now I'm a lead solution architect, which means that I help on the sales process, all the technical parts, so the estimation and the architecture. And about our clients, we work with LVMH and in the finance world with BNP Paribas, which is one of the biggest European banks. And last year, I had more and more prospective clients coming to me saying, we want to put GenAI everywhere in our products. And I was like, okay, so I need to first follow the rules, and then maybe we are going to break the rules later. So first, let's try to draw a picture of the context of what happened in 2023. We saw chatbots, and once again, chatbots. So a lot of them are really good products, but we've seen only a few game-changing products, like ChatGPT, Perplexity for web research, and Claude, an alternative to ChatGPT. And we also had the chance to witness the first failures of GenAI. Let me introduce you to my favorite one from Air Canada that has to refund a user because its chatbot created a refund policy. So now I'm not sure that you want to build GenAI products anymore. Maybe you're more into stopping it. Or you're wondering, well, Ruben, how to avoid creating bad GenAI products? Well, the answer is pretty simple. You just buy yourself a NASA expert-sized team. No? It costs too much, you're not convinced by that. Yes, indeed, maybe it's a little bit overkill. What you actually need is the right solution with the right setup, with the right team. And that's basically my job on a day-to-day basis. So in order to find those solutions and the right team, we need to have a clear mental model of the current tools that we have in GenAI. So when I discover something, I always try to design mental model. So the first step is to define the dimension that I will need to solve my problem. The first one that I've seen is the output customization. So you all tried ChatGPT. You've all seen that it can answer a string, so like characters, maybe a formatted strings, but it's very hard to produce a JSON and harder to produce code that will be interpreted. And the second dimension is the range of knowledge. So of course, ChatGPT is super smart, but sometimes you need it to be even smarter with private documents, with like very deep knowledge on a complex field like medicine or law, for example. Once you have that, you're going to segment your team with the skill set. So, of course, right now, a product manager can create some products with GenAI. But when it comes to integrating APIs and GenAI, maybe you will need a software engineer skill set. And when it comes to building like critical GenAI products, you will need an AI engineer to monitor this application and to make sure that it's not going to like burst in your face or cost a lot. Now you have your workbench. You're going to put the tools on it. So let's introduce some of them. So you already know ChatGPT, the GPTs, for the one paying GPT+. We had a really good introduction about what a RAG is, which is basically plugging a large language model with a database. And if you are really into deep technology, you can fine-tune or create your own models. But those aren't dots on the workbench. Those are more like potatoes. You can draw an area for each tool. And in my opinion, a product manager can create a good GPTs. But when it comes to integrate it with other API, you will need the software engineer skill set. And same for a RAG. A software engineer with a little bit of practice can build a RAG. But if you have a high criticality, you will need an AI engineer. So once you have this model in mind, you have your workbench with all the tools, say, OK, I'm going to answer to my prospective client issue. So am I going to create a new product, or am I going to leverage on existing product? Well, in my opinion, I want to leverage on existing product instead of building new bad ones. Why is that? It's because I think that the existing products that we have have already been thought by the business part, the tech part, and the product part. So you said it, we want to sprinkle like a little bit of GenAI. So let's see, who can bring together the product team, the GenAI features that we have, and also a very important part, the ops part. Put everything into production, like not just on our computers. Well, it's us, the API software engineers, of course. What is it going to change for us? Well, basically, there's 3 steps. The first one is to help the product design with new ideas and giving them the right tools. Then you need to help the security team assess all the software capabilities. So we know a lot of them, like scalability, like security. And the one I want to focus on today is security, because it's one of the main issues we have with large language model, and in the fintech world, it's an even bigger issue. And the last part, you have a good idea, you know it's safe. Well, how you develop it in a scalable way. And LangChain is a framework that we use that is pretty cool for building scalable application. I don't know if you have the reference of that. Never mind. I didn't start with building API, actually. I started in the front-end world. And I remember the day I've shown to my product manager a UI kit library called Material UI. I don't know if you heard of it. And it was like, wow, I can do so many things. I can use this component here, this other component there. And this is a clear illustration of the law of instrument. When you only have a hammer, every problem will look like a nail, right? So if we come back to the context, I was telling you a lot about chatbots. So of course, if you only show ChatGPT as the GenAI illustration, your product is only going to come up with chatbot ideas. So I wanted to change that a little bit and show you other ideas than a chatbot. So you all know what this is. This is a DTO, data transfer object. This is the representation of an object coming inside your API. It's in Nest.js. And you have a little annotation here to check that the first field of the form, the email, is actually an email. And if it's not, you will have a big message here telling you that it's not the case. We worked on a project for bankers to help them finance projects. So here, the second field is a project description. What's the investment you want to make? Well, of course, we are not expecting, I want to make a huge investment. We are expecting more details. What if you could have a new annotation, fits AR criteria, where you say that this form is only valid if you have the amount of the investment and when the investment is going to happen. Well, you're going to move from this kind of result, where John@Joe is obviously not an email, and I want to make a huge investment, to this kind of answer, where you will have an error message, a custom error message, telling you to specify the amount and when the investment is going to take place. And of course, if you fix this broken form, you add a .com first, and then you said that you want to invest $1 million by the end of the year. Well, it passed. It's okay. It's a good form. So here you have a new way to use Gen AI and to sprinkle that on the mind of the product manager. And now we want to help the technical team assess all the crazy ideas of the product team. Well, I have good news for you. As API software engineer, we can leverage on our best practices. We already know how to manage SQL injection, how to manage DDoS exception, DDoS attack. Well, there's pretty much the same for large language model. There's prompt injection, where we are going to jailbreak the prompt and just break the first prompt that you made. Fun fact about your system, my boss actually made it, and I jailbreak his email responder and tried to get a raise. Of course, I didn't get the raise, but I jailbreak my boss email, so that was cool. And of course, you know the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. Well, there's the same for large language model that came up and that can give you a good idea and how to discover if your app is safe or not. Once you leverage on your best practices, you also know how to increase the observability of your system. We all know how to build custom middlewares and monitor the input and the output of our system. And Fiddler is one of the solutions that can help you deal with this kind of issues. And finally, well, there's no secret sauce. You have to test a lot your application, especially when it comes to LLM, and just get your 10 best friends, not your 10 best friends, the 10 smartest friends you have, and try to break it. And every time you find a prompt that is breaking your system, well, put it, for example, in an integration test in order to make sure that it's not going to happen for future changes. And of course, we can limit the attack surface by having API-first architecture. Of course, if you just plug your chatbot directly to your website, you're going to end up with big issues, trust me. So now you have good ideas, you know that they are safe, let's try to develop them. So I'm not going to do a code demo, sorry about that, but I love architecture diagram, so I'm going to give you that. So I should have called it the level 0 of architecture diagram in terms of large language model. You just have a user prompting a large language model and you get the answer. Yay. Level 2, you give a little bit of context. What's your name? What's your company? This is the few-shot prompt that we saw earlier. Then let's go to the level 3. There's an awesome feature that I love with large language model like GPT-4. It's the function call. So basically, if you ask a large language model, what's the weather today in Austin? It's just going to guess the weather, 30 maybe. If you give him a function to be able to call a weather API, it's going to give you the right answer. And this is the role of the software engineer to develop and maintain this kind of function. Then there's the level 4. We already saw it this morning. It was a more detailed diagram. The user and the business part can upload documents. They're going to be processed, so they're going to be chunked and vectorized, stored inside a vector database. That will be called by a bunch of large language model to give the user an answer. Here you will have a custom answer that fits maybe private data, so that's a good level. But if you want to go even higher, well, you can mix level 3 and level 4. Everything is possible. It's basically Lego at this point. And I told you about LongChain. So LongChain is a framework available in Python and in JavaScript that has really good solutions for each of these steps. For example, for the level 0, you can have the custom large language model. So you avoid having to switch from one LLM to another. It's going to be very easy. For the level 2 and level 3, and even level 4, you have a lot of functions available to process your data, to use templates, to make the few shots prompt even better. And since you're using this kind of library, it's even more maintainable. And if you reach the level 5, well, with the great power comes great responsibilities, right? And you need a good observability system. So there are open source systems. This one is a SaaS made by LangChain. It's called Langsmith. That comes with really great tools like a replay of prompts, where you can well, replay them and iterate on your system to make sure a problem is never going to happen again. So, did we master Gen AI? Not sure. But we have a really good mental model on the rules. Like, we can follow the rules. We know which tool to use in which context. We started to break the rules and stop doing chatbots, but improving our products, giving good ideas to the products, making sure that they are safe, and then implementing them in a scalable way. And while for the report, I'm sorry, but this is your job. Guys, you will need to continue to stay curious because, as we said this morning, maybe this talk won't be true in like a month. So you need to stay curious about everything that is going on, and maybe you will reach the real level. And what's next for you? Well, we actually open source the annotation that I just showed you. So you can go on github.com/Sipios/NestJS generative AI. It's brand new, so we are really happy to share it with you here today. So you can show it to your product owner, your product manager. Also try the LangChain cookbook. It's basically everything you can do with LangChain. It's really powerful and it's going to give you a lot of ideas. And finally, if you prefer conferences, there's a really cool YouTube channel called Nordic API where there is a lot of cool conferences about Gen AI. Well, thank you very much.